The NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. 21 plus and present in select states. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Ampire.
Hey, babies, babies, hey, babies. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Happy Wednesday, playoff week, baby. How's everybody doing? Look at me, Callow. I'm way ahead of the curve this week, man.
On a Wednesday.
I'm very excited. I'm very, very, very excited. So I was doing all sorts of studying up for the game yesterday. Also, I can't go anywhere. My kids are home. So the snow days have forced me to stay inside, and I'm working, and I'm ready.
Did the school canceled again today? Not that it's
Yes.
not around. Oh my gosh! So you had holiday break
You know
and
this.
now 5
You're
day
from
weekend.
here. If you can't plow out one street in Damascus, everybody gets off.
That's right. No, that's exactly right. I told you that. If Damascus doesn't have all the streets clear, everybody's off.
Yeah,
so
no.
there it is.
We have the parent thread because we're all in different teams or whatever. They all went sledding yesterday.
Sure.
And we got the thread of it, and it came down early, like 3-4 o'clock, like it's off tomorrow. And I got this thread, and everybody was like, "What? I can't believe it. The roads are fine." And I go, "Y'all aren't from here."
Yep.
I told my kids on Monday, I go, "You guys aren't going to school till Thursday, period." And they were like, "Really?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And we went out yesterday, and they're like, "I think our street's fine." And I go, "Yeah, ours is." But
Yes.
that one up in northern Montgomery County, it's got 15 inches on it. My daughter was like, "Why don't we just take snow there, dump it there, and we'll be off the whole week?"
I mean, not a bad plan. I probably thought about that at some point in my life. Yes.
We haven't figured out. I don't want to get started on this. I'm too happy. It's playoff week. You know what? I'm not bothered by it. It's fine. They're old enough to watch Squid Game 2. It's cool. We're all good, man. We're all good now.
I do feel like I need to make like a little disclosure here. Like those new to the show, Bram's rivalry with the Montgomery County school system and cancellations is Commanders Cowboys. Like you cannot stand the way that they handle these things. So I feel like there's some backstory that needed to be dropped there.
I lived in Connecticut for 8 years, and I think they canceled one day of school once. Like, it didn't matter what happened. It did not matter what happened. You went. They cleared that stuff off. And in this place, in my lifetime, hasn't figured it out.
That's right. Correct.
Figured it out. And if it wasn't, in a different era where politicians were semi-respected, I'd consider making this my platform, going full Solly and running for a board seat. But I don't want anything to do with that anymore because who knows what you need to believe to be part of the political process these days.
Right.
So I'm out on all that stuff. Not interested.
Yes, exactly.
Anyway, let's see. Let's get to the news. No Bears for you. Cowboys denied on old Mikey M. So let's see. Bears asked to interview Mike McCarthy. Cowboys have a negotiating window that lasts through this week. I wonder who put that in there. Did Jerry put that in there, or did McCarthy put that in there? Because the coaches typically want freedom. If they're going to be released right at the end of the season. This gave the Cowboys just a little bit of a buffer when Black Monday happened around the league to go, we don't have to decide whether we want to let you talk to anybody else. It also reads like what I thought would be the whole thing the whole time. I think he's staying there. I don't think they're changing coaches. I think he's staying there.
If I had to guess, it was probably McCarthy, or it was probably Jones, right? I mean,
probably.
Why would McCarthy want an extra week if he's, successful? So I would think it was Jones to get a jump on this. You guys also mentioned this too. Like, they've got to sign the whole coaching staff too. So if you get him done first, everyone else is probably going to fall in line unless there are people that, want to leave the organization. But usually that's really not the case. Guys want to take a job that is, solid and where they've been. As far as, the denial, yeah, that's what the negotiating window is for. I actually, it was funny when Schefter was like, yesterday he's like, they still haven't answered. I'm like, yeah, they have an exclusive week to do this. Why would they answer? They don't have to do it. They have the window. So
yeah, so I've felt this way for a while. Just watching them play down the stretch too. They played really hard. I have different opinion about them going into next year off of the way that they played. They're missing a lot of people, and they still remained extremely competitive down the stretch of the season. So much so that they kept very faint playoff hopes alive until the last couple of weeks with Cooper Rush at quarterback, no DeMarcus Lawrence. Parsons were out for a long period of time. Diggs has missed a lot of the year. They didn't really have a run game, but they ended up having one by the end of the year. So that was that actually materialized. Dowdle was actually pretty effective by the end of the year. I got to give them credit where credit is due. I thought they would, once they had that lull in the middle of the season, that it would skid off and become just terrible, like what happened to us last year. And it did not. So he kept that thing together. I expect them to come back. If they get their star players back, I doubt Zach Martin will be there. We'll have to see what they do with someone like Lawrence because they've got to pay Micah. But I actually tip of the cap to you guys. Respect that you kept it all together. And I see what you have there because that was a extraordinarily marginalized roster that was extremely competitive in all the games down the end of the season. So tip of the cap, guys.
And I also think this too, say what you want about Ron and his time here, but why was Ron really hired in Washington? It was because they needed a steadying veteran head coach presence to kind of just get the ship back on track. Now, say what you want about how it all shook out, but he got those teams to play hard. We won't talk about personnel, but Mike McCarthy, I think, is in that same realm now, that I think the Bears look at a guy like that has had a very successful regular season, has coached up a really good offense. They're going, maybe that's just what we need right now as well to get the train back on the track soon.
I mean, McCarthy gets a lot of crap, but his record speaks for itself. You don't have a record like that accidentally. You just don't. Aaron Rodgers is a really good quarterback who didn't win in New York. So, that happens. Okay. Right. That happens. Sure. Anyway. All right. Let's see. As for the Bears, their press conferences were laugh out loud funny, by the way. The owner was asked about selling the team. His answer was, I know everybody's really frustrated here. The GM named people that he was really happy with. One of them was not Montez Sweat. And he was naming all sorts of people that he was happy with, went out of his way to say that Caleb was doing a lot of great stuff because you have to say that. And then was asked then Kevin Orr was asked specifically, what if a coach says, I want my own GM? And he wouldn't really answer that question definitively. So they've put themselves, listen, I'm so happy that we are not doing this first time, long time. We're good over here, guys. Thanks a lot. We have a GM, we have a coach, we have a quarterback, we have ownership people are happy with. That is the trifecta plus ownership that we haven't had in my adult lifetime. This is the first time we've had this where everybody's going, we're good over here, guys. Don't worry about us. Cool. Y'all do you.
We were talking before the show, and yesterday was the 19 years to the day they last won a playoff game. And all I have to say is it's nice we're worrying about a playoff game and not about the coach, the GM, the first or second overall pick, all of it. It's made it so much more fun to talk about it with everyone else instead of bringing our team into the fold as well. And with the Bears too, watching what they're doing, it's just so nice to once again, and I've said it all year with the Bears. It's just nice that we're not that team anymore. We have nothing to do with the dumpster fire that a couple of these teams have become. It's so nice. So nice.
Probably there were a couple years there where our receiving core was Deshaun Jackson and Pierre Garçon, and we still weren't winning, and people would look at them and go, that's a good team that they have out there, but they're not winning anyway, that's them now. And they've put themselves in a complete pickle now with this person is loyal to this person for as long as he has to be loyal to that person. Right. But that person who picked the last coaches that really messed up, but he's going to pick the new coach. And the whole thing just stinks of you guys can't get out of your own way. And, that's your problem. We've had those. We've lived any and all of this. We've lived it. So we have the lived experience of it. It's so nice to be on the other side of that now. It just is.
No, absolutely. And it's also, it's totally different. And I think this is just indicative of how the year has gone. It's not like this team snuck into the playoffs. And I go back to that playoff win 19 years ago. Mark Brunell was the quarterback. Clinton Portis was a good running back. They had one receiver in Santana Moss. The defense was really good with Sean Taylor and LeVar and all of those guys. But we all kind of knew, like, this is a nice little run. There's a lot of work to be done here. Whereas this time around, it feels like there's a lot of work to be done, but look at what they've done so far in such short amount of time. Like, it feels like the beginning of something that's way better. The feeling around it is so much different than what everyone else is going through.
Yeah, it is. Going through all the statistics of Tampa Bay last night is not going to make you feel really confident about what's going on this weekend.
I know.
But
I know.
it's really funny. I was going through all of it, and what's amazing is, like, I think not unlike Washington, where I'm like, the last few weeks, the way they've won, it's getting a lot of play virally, but it's not being talked about like, oh my God, like what's happening there and what it could mean for the future. At least I don't see a lot of that making the rounds. Like, Tampa Bay went 6-1 post their bye. They had a point differential of over 100. Like, they had the second best scoring defense over that period of time. Now, in fairness, if you go through who they played, it's like one playoff team. So they caught what was, a pretty, nice path to get themselves going. But the numbers speak for themselves. Like, what Baker had, this guy, Jalen McMillan, did something that the last person to do this was Randy Moss. Like, their scoring defense is going way down. Their run defense is really good. They found a rush offense for the first time. They have a top 3 rush offense this year. They're top 5 in every category in offense this year. Like, I don't think anybody is talking about them like they're scary. Nobody is. But if you read those numbers, you're going to go, I don't know why people aren't talking about them that way.
No, I 100% agree. I think I was trying to say it, when we were talking about the teams that we wanted last week, was like, Baker wants the smoke. Like, Baker is the one that's been slinging it the last 2 months, essentially. And when he's going, like, he's just as good as anyone else in the NFL when he's hot, and he is hot right now. And look, I'll look at the Buccaneers like everyone was kind of looking at us. Okay, fine. They've beaten some easy teams. That's what you're supposed to do. Like, I'm not here to knock that. And not only that, they're killing them too. Like, I think the team that gave them the most credit most trouble was what? The Panthers. In that high scoring game.
Overtime, it should have beat them. And last week the Saints were very competitive with them, but I want to chalk that up to, I think they played for their city last week. I think that's fair.
But I look at the opponents there too, and it's like, okay, their division played them tough. Welcome to the NFL. So I have not, like, no matter who they were going to play in this wild card round, it was going to be tough. I'm just saying Tampa, though, I'm with you, is a little underrated on how everyone's talking about them.
Yes, it is underrated. So, but that's, this is good. I want to go full Dan Quinn here. Stay in the moment, stay in the week, take the opponent seriously. Don't get dreamy about what could happen here or there. Don't accept award season. Don't start thinking about Detroit. It's not worth all that. These guys have the longest running streak in the NFC of playoff appearances. They've won their division 4 years in a row. Just like I said, with Washington, all these close wins, it ends up not being an accident. That's not an accident. Like, they were one of the teams I picked in the summer because I looked at them and I went, I don't really trust these other teams, but I know what those guys are. And they've gotten better this year. I'm actually surprised you're not hearing more about this offensive coordinator up for coaching interviews. Maybe he will pop up, because I think that's being underrated here, what's happening right now. They were really good. I remember week 1, they were really, really good against us. It was pretty obvious that, like, they've got a pretty good OC down there. So we'll see. Talk more about them in a little bit. Let's see what else is going on. Another new coach in Vegas. Antonio Pierce is out. I'm not surprised because of the record. They tried to get a quarterback. I think they were going to get Penix, and then the Falcons jumped them and took Penix. Might be a completely different story if they got him this year. They scream a team that's going to take a quarterback. I was talking to some others recently. I don't really know that there's a franchise changing quarterback this year. I'm obviously not going to look at it like I did last year, because we got our guy, and we had to look at Drake May and Bo Nix and JJ McCarthy and Caleb and all that stuff to figure out who we were going to take. So I'm not as into studying Shador and Cam Ward and a couple of Drew Allard. All of a sudden Drew Allard's name is popping up. But from what I've seen watching the games this year, I don't think there's a Caleb or a Jaden or a Bo Nix. Like, I could be wrong about Cam Ward specifically. I think he's got a skill set that might translate, but no offense, don't hate me, Dion. I know your kid's going to go very high in the draft, if not number 1. but I'm not sure that that's Jaden. Like I don't see it. So all those teams like Tennessee, who's probably thinking about it, Giants who have to be thinking about it, Raiders definitively thinking about it. I don't know that they're going to land on the right guy. And you know how that goes. When you don't land on the right guy, then it's like 3-4 years of figuring out who's next while you stay mediocre to bad.
No, exactly right. There was a fun discussion going on Twitter yesterday about how far down the quarterback list this year would you have to get to a quarterback that wouldn't go first overall this year? And like outside of JJ McCarthy, because we didn't see him, right? When he got hurt. It was like you had to every quarterback in the first round would have gone first overall this year of just how the talent is. Maybe Shador goes before Penix. That was kind of like the argument there was like, but it was a pure maybe. And it was just a fun activity where the quarterbacks this year were so good. 5 of them would go first overall in this year's draft.
I went to go see Penix play in college because I was so impressed with him. I'm like, I want to see this guy play live.
Yeah.
And I'm convinced he's going to be good, and we'll see. I think that was a very tough situation that they threw him in at the end of the year. There's a lot of pressure to put him in. But we'll see moving down the road. I think they're going to be fine with him. Nix is better than I thought he was going to be in the pros. McCarthy obviously didn't play. Drake May's a really, really good prospect. I was open to see what happens there. I still believe Caleb's going to be good.
Yeah.
I think the environment's going to have a lot to do with his career now, not him specifically. What happens around him is going to be very, very important. And obviously, Jaden's a superstar. So all of them worked out. Like on some level, all of them did. I just look at this class, no offense to any of them, I don't see it. Like in any of them, like I see it in these other guys. I had to be sold on McCarthy, but by the end of it, I pretty much was. He looked like maybe a little bit better version of Brock Purdy to me. These guys, I don't know. And all these teams are looking for quarterbacks. Good luck with that. Maybe Shador ends up being really good. Maybe Cam Ward does end up being really good. Like that's possible. But I don't think it's as obvious as it was about the top of the last draft for sure.
This, by the way, remember there was just a small section. I'm not trying to knock the fan base here, but there was a percentage of the fan base that was like, well, what if we trade down and get some offensive linemen and a wide receiver? And I just remember being like, guys, don't overthink this. Also, but part of that argument was look at next year. The prospects don't exist coming up in this year's draft. So once again, glad adults were in the room and drafted Jaden Daniels.
Okay, so we don't excommunicate people in this fan base. They're all allowed to stay. However, there might have to be a relegation tier of opinion making because all the people who hated the Dan Quinn hire, y'all got real quiet real fast. We have to relegate you in the hierarchy of opinion making. And those of you that wanted us to keep Sam Howell and build with him by taking Joe Alt, you people are not allowed to say anything for the next 10 years. You can speak, but you're not a board member anymore.
I think,
You've been relegated to general population. That's it.
No, we'll treat it like they're on probation. They actually can't post anywhere for a year. They can't post anything. Right. Then you have a year of watching of if your opinions are good or not. Then we'll let you back into the club. But those ones were the ones that
then we'll let you back into the club.
Right.
Then and only then. We're not excommunicating you. We want you here. Show up to the games.
Yeah, you get to watch.
Be into it. Yeah. You're not on the board anymore. You don't even get a vote at the stockholders meeting. You have to. You're in the penalty box for a while, guys. If that's what your thoughts were.
I think we treat it like you are a felon. We have to write it down on your permanent record. Did want to keep Sam Howell and draft Joe Alt. It's on your record. It's okay. It's up to everyone's discretion now.
Thought Adam Peters was a bust because he got Dan Quinn and not Ben Johnson. You got to be relegated, guys.
There is a difference though of hating Dan Quinn and just saying that's a little lukewarm because I was a part of Team Lukewarm. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it either. So I was
on the team of it. Nobody wanted to hear from me. They just thought I was being a homer. Every single person I talked to around the NFL who was associated with this guy could not say better things about him. And I'm like, I'm just telling you what they're telling me. I'm not trying to sell you on anything. I'm just telling you what they're telling me about him. And it showed up and to be exactly true. Exactly true. And so, sorry, guys. And nobody wanted to hear it. They're like, what are you talking about? I don't know. I work in the NFL. I talk to these people. I'm just telling you what they tell me about the guy. You've been relegated, people. Let's see. I want to say one more thing about the Vegas thing real quick.
Yeah.
So Tom Brady is an owner now there, a part owner, not the main owner. And they got through all the, what's he allowed to do? All that type of stupid stuff. He's got a 10-year contract with Fox. I don't remember if it's Andrew Marchand or Richard Deitch, who both are major media reporters, sports media reporters. One of them, and it was a projection, like, what do you think is going to happen in 2025? And I think it was Marchand who said, I don't believe that Brady will get to the end of this contract, but I'll go a step further. I bet he's not in the booth as of next fall, that he's going to step down and step away from all of this. So because I'm doing the games every week, I have not heard him much. Yeah. I have rewatched a few games he ended up calling to get ready for, opponents. I have heard a couple of the bye week. I heard him, call a game, and I heard a couple of others because it lined up that we played at a different time and I got to hear him. And I will agree that he's not wowing me. Okay. And I would agree that he doesn't quite have the timing and it's a little awkward. But I would believe that he'll get better at it over time. I think the question is, does he quit? And I think that would be really, I think, out of his character to do that. But that's the prognostication. All I would say is, I think the criticisms are a little much. It's not like he's bad, but I also agree that he's not Greg Olsen. Like, he's not as smooth or as, on time with the pertinent analysis. Like, he doesn't have that in him yet. I would agree with that part.
No, well, and like, to your point though, being just good is not good enough for him.
Not for him, no.
Like, that's where I think everyone's fallen in line here. And I think, unfortunately, Romo's the one that set the bar. Romo was just so epically good in that first season when he stepped in. Everyone was kind of expecting that.
People forget John Gruden was amazing in the booth. Yeah.
No, 100%. And so they're looking at this going, well, this is year one, and those guys, lost a fastball a little bit down the stretch. What's he going to be like? The other part of this too that I think is affecting it is, how this works. You get to have meetings with, players and coaches on the team, and you get to talk to people around the team, and you gather information. So you sound really smart on the broadcast. He's not allowed to do that. Like, that was part of him becoming the owner, was that he doesn't get to talk to these guys and get some inside info.
He does. He's not allowed to go in their facilities.
Okay, but I bet you everyone that goes to talk to him also goes in shield up saying, this guy's an owner. Like, we don't know what it would be like. You know what I mean? You're not going to get the same type of answers from some of these guys when he steps in the room, I think. So that's the other part of this is he doesn't sound as smart either because he's not getting that info. I will say this, in the moment, he's not that good either. Like, that's where I have kind of like set my flag on, is when there's a play happening and he's trying to like analyze it in the moment. He's as good as you or me. Like, it's really weird. It's just very pedestrian.
Yeah. He hasn't quite figured out this is what I need to say in a concise manner quickly, that isn't something that's totally obvious.
Right.
And, I agree. So we'll see where it goes from here. All right, let me take a quick break. Ray Watch the Show, ESPN 630 Sports Capital.
This episode is brought to you by Unstoppable. Discover the inspiring true story about Anthony Robles, who defied every expectation to become a national wrestling champion in Unstoppable, a new original movie from Amazon MGM Studios and director William Goldenberg, evoking the excitement and camaraderie of classic sports dramas and thrilling wrestling matches. Unstoppable features an all-star ensemble cast, including Jarrell Jerome, Jennifer Lopez, Don Cheadle, Michael Pena, and Bobby Cannavale. Unstoppable is streaming exclusively on Prime Video January 16th.
Let me welcome in my friend, colleague from the NFL Network, the one and only Sara Walsh, the queen of Tampa. Hello, Sara. How are you?
I've never gotten that introduction before.
You like it?
I don't know what kind of royalty we have. I'm not mad at it. Like, I'm not offended by it. So I don't know how willing other people would be accepting that. But like, sure, no problem.
What if I gave you?
I've been called worse.
I would give you a sash, and you get to ride on a float at Gasparilla. How about that?
Ooh, I'll definitely take it.
Okay,
Yeah, Gasparilla is a hot ticket. Tough getting good parking there. So if I could be on a float, that'd be great.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the playoff game. We start again where we started at the beginning of the season. I remember talking to you in the preseason, and you were telling me you're all in on the Buccaneers. You like Baker. You like their offense. You didn't buy Atlanta. You turned out to be completely right. So what have
you. I like that.
Yeah, what have you seen from Tampa Bay now that we're here throughout the season?
So here's the thing, early on, and even in that first game against Washington, they did what I thought they were going to do. They were really good. I think they have, and I know you're going to say, well, everyone's got injuries. I think that they have really struggled making up for the absence of certain injuries. Chris Godwin going down, and actually this is the surprising part. When Chris Godwin was lost for the season because that offense was, Mike and Chris for the longest time, I thought they'd be in real trouble. And you saw some real resilience there. They've had rookies, it feels like, on a weekly basis stepping up. And they have one rookie in particular, Jalen McMillan, who's got 7 touchdowns in his last 5 games. They have, and the biggest thing is they have a run game that they have not had in years. I mean, this is an organization that the last 2 years dead last in running the football. And it was like every year you sounded like a broken record being like, well, they're going to try to run it and this is the year they run it. And for whatever reason, they couldn't make it happen. Offensive coordinator Liam Cohn comes to town. Once again, they were having to find a new offensive coordinator. It was Byron Leftwich, and then it was Dave Canales, who was a complete really unknown in that position, and he ended up leaving after 1 year to go to Carolina. Then they're in the spot where they got to rehire another offensive coordinator. Here's another new system, and Baker Mayfield has been through every system, every coach, every offensive coordinator you can think of. And so Liam Cohn has done an unbelievable job. They have a run game in which they haven't had in years. Credit Liam Cohn, credit the rookie Bucky Irving, who's gone over 1,000 yards, 1,500 scrimmage yards. He's been incredible. So that really changed things for them. I think the surprising part, and the part that gives me pause, is, this is always a Tampa Bay team that was known for Todd Bowles and his defense, this vaunted Bucs defense. That's what they, win Super Bowls on. And they have really struggled on the injury front. They're completely decimated in the secondary when it comes to defensive backs and safeties. And so, and when I say people stepped up for Chris Godwin, I mean, when I say they're going down the depth chart, I mean, they're going way down. I mean, there would be people in games who are like, where did they just find this person from? And I mean, it's a testament to a week ago, Shaq Barrett, who was a huge piece of the Super Bowl winning Buccaneers team years ago. He retired last year. He has come out of retirement and played his very first snaps last weekend. I was like, what's it feel like to be back? And he's like, great. I didn't go to training camp. I didn't go to anything. I just showed up and won the division title. But I mean, that's where they're at, where they seriously need help. And we've just not seen a Bucs team built like this, where it's not built around defense. And if there's a part that they've struggled, it's been, keeping offenses off the field and stopping teams from just going down the field and making drives on it that you would never see before. Now, what you didn't have an offense putting up 40 points. Baker and those guys have done that several times this year. They've been really good, but it's a different way of getting it done.
So I've been asked a million times, what's going to be different about the week 1 game? And I said, I'll tell you the one thing I know that won't be. It's that Todd Bowles is Todd Bowles, and he's going to blitz a million times. And that happened in week 1. It happened through the season. But with all their injuries on the back end, are they pulling back at all with the pressure packages?
Well, I mean, obviously he loves pressuring quarterbacks, right? But I think he understands, and he said that he told Bowles already said this week, this is a better Washington team all the way around. He knows how good Jaden Daniels is. He's going to take off and he's going to make plays. It's the same thing Lamar can do that too. And so I think in situations like that, you have to be really smart about how you're going to do it and when you're going to do it, knowing what you have back at quarterback there. So yeah, I don't think he dials it back, but I understand that, their backfield, it's tough out there. They're trying to get Antoine Winfield back, who, was a superstar, signed a mega contract this offseason. He hasn't been available for 9 games this year. He's now missed 4 straight. Now it's a knee issue. They believe, or they hope, they're going to get him back this week. But again, he hasn't played. They're also missing another starting corner. They don't know. They hope and believe that Jamel Dean's going to play. But if you want to go blitz them and give them an opportunity to take shots, I mean, teams have done that against the Buccaneers in a way in which they haven't been able to do that in previous years. So I think he's in a more precarious position than in years past in being able to dial up the kind of stuff he wants to dial up.
Okay. Offensively, we've talked about this. We were just talking about this earlier this week. You love Baker, right? I mean, he's just perfect for Tampa, right? It just fits in.
I struggle to understand how you didn't love Baker in Cleveland. You know what I mean? Like this idea, this narrative, and I like when people are like, oh, well, he was cocky. To me, he's cocky in the right way. Like he's every person around this guy from the second he walks in the locker room, like loves him. These guys love him. He is not, and you know this in certain places, like there's quarterbacks and, you know, the line always loves him, whatever, but they're a different level. And especially depending on how big of a deal they are, like this guy is like a guy's guy, like hangs with these guys. And like, that idea that he's cocky, he's got like a swagger, and he's always had a swagger. And I remember, I think I did one of his first games ever in Cleveland when I was working for Fox Sports, and he came in the production meeting, and you know how those things go. And I was like, oh, this guy's just like got it. Like he's just kind of smart and clever and knows like the points to sort of like take his jabs at. And yeah, I can't say enough. Like I love him. I love dealing with him. I love everything about the way he plays. I mean, this guy will take one for the team. He's not afraid to get hit, sometimes to his detriment. He's not afraid to take off, and he doesn't have obviously the legs and the wheels that Jaden Daniels had. He didn't care. Like he's gonna, like, this is the guy that is going to do anything he has to do to get you a first down, to move those chains. And so, yeah, like I love him, and I know that the guys here like love this guy and will do anything for him.
He's one of the few he's like Josh Allen. He's one of the few quarterbacks. He wants to smoke. He doesn't care. He'll hit people.
No,
he doesn't slide. He doesn't go out of bounds. He'll take a hit and get up and point first down. And he's one of those.
Yeah, he'll make fun. I want him mic'd up all the time. Like he'll like trash talk guys that are like 10 times bigger than he shouldn't be trash talking. But he's like great. Like you kind of want this. Like to me, like I want my quarterback to kind of be a little bit like that. And when I say he's like that in all the right ways, he really is. Like he really is. And he's the first guy that like will take accountability, say I got to be better. But then he's got some swagger about it. And so again, you know how I feel about him. I love him. He's gritty. He's fun. He's got a personality. He's all the things you want. And by the way, again, I think that some of what he's done is like lost in the narrative of like, you know, Baker doing like funny Baker things. Like he threw for 4,500 yards and over 40 touchdowns. Yeah,
is he pissed? He didn't get to the Pro Bowl? Is he pissed about that?
Well, he's also the kind of person that uses everything as a snob. Like I was talking to someone, and now I'm not going to remember what play it is, but they were like, oh yeah, like he'll make something up if it's not. So like that's kind of perfect material for him, because you know the snub originally was like this was it for him last year. This was make or break, or he could be out of the league. They signed him for like a ridiculously low amount. This is like a prove it year, and he turned that into a $100 million contract. I think that contract's going to get bigger because if you look at what he signed compared to Kirk Cousins, and like look at what the two have done this year, like I'm sure they're going to go back to the table. So yeah, I'm sure he uses the Pro Bowl things as not. He did have, like, if you want to like make the knock compared to the other guys, like he's had turnovers, he's had fumbles that, you know, those numbers he would like to have be much lower, but 4,500 yards and over 40 touchdowns. He only became the 10th player to ever do that. And the names are like Mahomes, like, I mean, Marino, like it's the best of the best. And he's having that spectacular of a season. I think it's lost in the, you know, like the beauty of the Burrow passes and the heroics of Josh Allen, and Jaden Daniels is new, right? And so that's super exciting to the league. Like I think Baker gets lost a little bit in that shuffle.
All right, let me ask you, because this is new for us, but I'm aware of this, and you'll know this because you followed the Buccaneers for a long time. Marshawn Lattimore is new here. We think he's going to play, right? We think he's going to play this weekend. He's only played in 2 of the 8 games that he's been here with a hamstring injury, but he's trending up, and he's probably going to go. I'm aware of the history with Mike Evans. So could you just tell me from your point of view, what is it between those two guys?
They don't like each other. I think it's like they do not like each other, and sometimes that makes for, well, not sometimes, that makes for great TV. I mean, it's right in our wheelhouse of the stuff we love, but it was sort of known here every time the Saints. And by the way, so Mike Evans is a first ballot Hall of Famer. I adore Mike Evans, and he's an amazing person, right?
And he's not like this with other players, right? Like he doesn't get like
no.
His buttons don't get. I don't see his buttons getting pushed all the time.
No, he is the most chill. Like you would never know it. This is actually interesting. I was talking to the receiver who's like this been huge emerging star here, Jalen McMillan. And I was like, hey, does Mike ever crack jokes in meetings? Because you don't see that about Mike. Mike is very about his business, like shows up complete professional about his business. I go, does he ever, because I'm like, there's got to be on the other side. Does he ever crack jokes? And he's like, nah, man. He goes, it's actually scary. Like he's just so straight. Like he goes, like before a game, people are going nuts. He's sitting there and he's like the most calm person. And he's like, it's actually scary. Cause like, that's like a killer. Right. And I randomly got stuck in the tunnel 2 weeks ago before when they were doing like these player intros and they have like the smoke going up or whatever. And there's guys like, screaming and whatever you have to do to get yourself hyped. Mike, I took a video of Mike standing up against the wall. Mike looked like he was he was in line at like the DMV and they told him it was going to be a 3-hour wait. Like he just is so my point is like, that is not his personality. All this stuff that you can pull up with him and Marshawn Lattimore. That's not Mike. I think these two don't like each other. Lattimore has done a really good job against Mike Evans. Mike Evans, it's never been easy for him against the Saints. And that's a credit to Lattimore. But to say things have gotten chippier, to say there's been skirmishes, I mean, that's an understatement. It's been like pretty on the regular. And so it's kind of ironic that, he was going for this record and he was going to have to do it against the Saints last week. Mike Evans trying to reach 1,000 yards. And people were like, the Saints have played him well. But then it was like, well, they don't have Marshawn Lattimore anymore. They don't have Marshawn, like, he's going to get it. And then to think that he gets it and like 1 week later to continue on the season, he's going to get this guy. It's going to be awesome. I hope Marshawn Lattimore's playing, like, because it is, you better believe that's going to be a main storyline on primetime football on Sunday. I mean, that they're going to be spotlighted. It's going to be awesome. I hope. I hope he plays because it's obviously a better game if he does.
All right, last thing. If I have this right, I don't have the stats in front of me. I think they've got the longest running playoff streak in the NFC. If I'm right, I think that they've been in it more years in a row.
Correct.
Yeah,
you are correct. Again, little known fact. I feel like things that are buried. So the Bucs have the longest active playoff streak in the NFC, which is at 5 straight. There's only 2 teams that have a longer active playoff streak, and that is the Bills and the Chiefs currently over the AFC. But yeah, they have it in the NFC. And again, it's sort of forgotten about. And because I truly think this team has been forgotten about the second that Tom Brady was done. They were like, oh, it's over there in Tampa. And they have quietly, the move to get Baker, like what a game-changing, saving move for this franchise, because there was like a real deflation and they had spent this money. They put all their chips into win a Super Bowl. It worked out. They did it. And you're like, who are you going to get? And they get this guy who resurrected his career, who's fun to watch, who's engaging, who fans rally behind. And every year they're written off. They were written off last year because Carr went to the Saints and everyone said, well, the Saints are going to win it. And then at the end, they get in. They were written off as soon as Cousins went to Atlanta, which you referenced at the start of this. Bucs aren't getting in. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I think they're going to be better. And then they're written off because people write off the NFC South. It hasn't been a great division when you look at records in the last couple of years. So they're immediately and always written off. And, if you look at it, if in fairness, like the Washington Commanders are coming in here with a better record. But all of that stuff can be very deceptive in the sense of the Bucs have wins against, they went to Detroit and won. I mean, it's a pretty big deal. They've had some big wins on their plate and, not a lot of teams have beaten Washington. They did it. Obviously it was week 1. They went to Kansas City and took the Chiefs to overtime. They had a couple of real close ones that they should have pulled out and didn't. So it's sort of a real toss-up of what you're going to get. But I think the biggest difference is this offense in Tampa is good. This defense is a question mark, which has not been the case for years to come. And they have a running game that they haven't had and an emerging star in this rookie Bucky Irving. So it should be a good one. And then we don't know what we're going to get out of Marshawn if he's out on the field.
Hopefully nobody gets kicked out. That's what I'm hoping. That'd be out of character for us too this year. We're a feel good story. I know you can't believe this of years and years of being here. We're a feel good story now. It's really the tables have turned.
I know. Yeah. You actually said it's all warm and fuzzy around here now. And I said, what? Like, I mean, that just wasn't, as you know, that was not my experience there in Washington. And even look at
we're a Disney fairy tale now. That's what we are.
When you talk about stats, you couldn't believe like the Bucs NFC run. Just some of the stuff, like the last time that they had 12 wins was like 1991. Like, I mean, you got to go back. Like, it's been a second. So I know they're hoping the fairy tale continues there in Washington.
All right. I hope you can carve out 10 minutes for me and I can see you in person when I come down there this weekend. Hopefully we'll do that.
Oh, of course. You stop it right now. And obviously, I'm so happy that you're the voice of the Commanders, because I know that little Bram heart bleeds burgundy and gold from our time together at ESPN when you were spending your Sundays just, being disappointed.
If people start calling me Little Bram, I will blame you forever. That just like,
oh, you were mad about the electric car.
I'm mad about all of it. Yeah, I'm mad about all of it. All right. Hopefully I'll see you this weekend at the game,
yes,
hopefully before, and we'll talk to you. Sarah, thank you so much.
Okay, safe travels.
It's the start of the new year. Perfect time to get organized, set goals, prioritize what matters most. And for me, a top priority is my financial wellness, which feels more important than ever. And thanks to Rocket Money, my goals feel achievable. They show me all of my subscriptions in one place and help me easily cancel ones that I forgot that I've been paying for. Rocket Money also pulls together all of my spending across all of my different accounts so I can clearly track my spending habits and see where I can cut back. Rocket Money, it's a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. So cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/game on today. That's rocketmoney.com/game on. rocketmoney.com/game on. All right, welcome back. I talked about this yesterday for a moment. Again, I'm in football brain, but I do want you to watch Brad's eyes, because Brad's eyes tell a story here about what his future is with Phoenix that I found really, really, really fun. So check this out. Like, you don't even need to really hear it. Like, just watch his eyes as he's being asked questions here. And it's just so like, his eyes tell you everything. And I did read something this morning where he has not been, quote, approached about his no trade clause yet, but it is clear as day that he will not be with the Phoenix Suns for much longer.
My favorite part about that video that you're, posting, he's asked about like the Jimmy Butler stuff, and he knows. He's like, well, I hold all the cards and I haven't been talked about. I haven't, been approached by it. And I'm like, oh, that is peak Brad.
Yeah.
Like, Brad's the nicest guy in the world until you ask him about anything that's actually important with him being traded. And he's literally, I hold all the cards, so whatever. Like, it was like, oh my.
I still fall into the category of, I like Brad. Everybody likes Brad, but I was never delusional about him.
Nobody loves Brad.
I was always realistic about, yeah, he's a really good guy. He's a very good player. I don't know why you treat him like he's God. And Phoenix found out he's not even the piece that pushes them over the top. They found that out.
That's right. I mean, Wizards fans could have told you that, though. Like, that's why I was team trade Brad 3 different times when his contract was coming up, and they kept re-signing him. It was like, guys, he's not that good. These teams are terrible with him unless he has 2 other big guys around him. Like, I'm not surprised at all here. What's more funny with Brad, though, is like how much he's faded into irrelevancy since he's gotten traded there. No one says a word about him anymore. Like, that's where I'm like, yep, that's Brad. That's exactly what happens. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I want to be on a team like this. Well, you are now.
Have fun.
Good luck with that.
Have fun. Right.
Yep. All right. One other thing. This is a quick replay from yesterday. So, like, I'm trying to figure out. Hold on. Let me see if I can find this for you. Oh, shoot. I may not have it, but I was going to ask you, what did Callow eat yesterday? And I can't get the video up of it now because it's somehow lost and I'm technically impaired. But I had it queued up to the moment where you drank something in the middle of the show and then swallowed what looked like a chunk of something.
Yes, correct.
I kept going. Very professional of you.
Oh, I kept it going. Yeah. the only thing I could think of is my almond milk went bad. It was the last little bit that was in the carton, and that's the only thing I could think of what it was, because that was all that was in my coffee yesterday. So that's what it was.
That's what it was. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, fine. So that blew that bit. All right, real quick before we go.
Yeah.
Caps face Vancouver. It is the halfway point of the season for the Capitals tonight. They lead the Eastern Conference. Vancouver is pretty good, not as good as they were a year ago, at least points-wise. They're at home. So what do you got tonight?
All right, so there's a sample size now of like 10, 11 games where the Caps have not been scoring that many goals here, and things have not gone by the wayside, but don't get me wrong. Nobody's panicking because of the start that they've had here. I am back to team who's going to be the starting goaltender in the playoffs now, because you had Logan Thompson last game not play well against the Sabres. Now you're probably going to get Charlie Lindgren. They have literally switched off games. They haven't started 2 games in a row in a long, long, long time. So I am full team what goalie is going here. I think the scoring's eventually going to pick back up. Everybody was a little too hot at the same time for it to keep going the way that it was. I anticipate a victory here.
They scored 7 the other day. They played really poorly in Buffalo and scored 3.
Yeah. Well, and the Rangers is more like, that's on the Rangers, not on the Caps. Like that's a bad game when 7 different forwards score, by the way. That hasn't happened in like 3 years. So I anticipate them to play pretty well again tonight, get back into the win column. They're at home, like you said, too. It's a 7:30 puck drop, so those crowds are usually a little bit more lively than the 7 o'clock crowd. I anticipate a victory here. I'll keep the scoring down here. They probably score like 3 goals, so give me like a 3-1, 3-2 victory, something like that. But I'm fully team goalie watch now. Like, if these goalies don't get it together, we're halfway through the year. Do they make a move for somebody? I think that's worth paying attention to.
If the tickets are cheap tonight, I might try to go in. Get my kids out of the house.
Sure.
Tonight.
Yeah, I mean, why not? The other thing we didn't talk about, by the way, Team USA won the World Juniors, and Ryan Leonard was named MVP of the whole freaking tournament. So once again, this dude that is Tom Wilson Jr. Is like going to be incredible for this team. I don't know if you saw the story where the World Juniors were in Ottawa, and he was like doing full wrestling, like, can you hear me, after scoring goals against Canada, and the Ottawa crowd was booing him, and they asked him about it after the game, and he goes, it's great to be hated here, like full WWE essentially. So once again, when this guy starts playing literally this year in the playoffs, watch out for him.
All right, sounds good. All right, everybody, talk to you tomorrow. Bram Show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital.